Hi, welcome to Let's Talk Town Movie Podcast. I'm Ramya,
I'm Aswin.
and today we're going to talk about comedy films that we recommend watching.
We're going to start our podcast by talking about Punjab Danteram. The cast for this movie included Kamal, Jairam, Simran, Ramya Krishnan, and bunch more. And it was directed by K.S. Ravikumar. And the story was by Kamal and Crazy Mohan.
Oh, yeah, so this is now considered as the cult classic comedy film. It's basically about these five friends and them getting into a huge trouble and them just trying to figure out their way out. But it's just it's portrayed in a funny way. The dialogue and the acting all just work together. Some parts of the movie were actually shot in Toronto. That's kind of cool. And the film came out in 2002, so a very old.
But it doesn't feel old while you're watching it because it's just so funny that you'll just end up laughing.
Yeah, it was
so much.
The comedy's still funny.
Yeah.
But I just like how big of a nervous wreck everyone was. So it would be Kamal would be okay, guys, this is what we're going to do. And then he would be okay, you guys go there and we'll go here. And nobody listens to him. Everyone's just going one way. And I like that. It was throughout the entire movie.
You know, the phone call when he would call them, he would do a group call.
Yeah.
And then he's trying to speak.
He had to explain to them what a group call was. And they were yes, okay, we understand. And then literally when he calls the next person, they do the same thing again. So I like that. It was always there in the movie. Everything they did, I was just okay, this is it's very realistic. But yeah, I think the entire movie was too good to be true.
Yeah, so yeah, you should definitely watch it if you haven't, and then if you have, watch it once again.
Yeah,
just for the laugh. The next movie we are going to talk about is also another K.S. Ravikumar / Kamal movie, and it's Tenali.
So it was Kamal, Jyotika,
Jairam. Yeah.
Only thing is this came before Punjab Danteram. So basically, this movie was about a guy who came from Sri Lanka and who had psychological issues because of the war and whatnot. So he was very anxious as a person. So it was basically all the jokes were about how anxious he is. And Jairam was his therapist. One of my favorite scenes of this movie was when Kamal comes to Jairam and Jairam's who sent you here? And he says the other therapist sent me. And he goes, they're hiding behind the tree. And he's they're right there. And when Kamal goes, they're not there. I found that hilarious. Can't really remember anything else that stood out to me.
As a kid, when I watched it, one thing I remembered was, you know how he would sleep the wrong way? His feet would be on the pillow and then his head would be by your feet. Yeah, and so the ghosts get confused. Something like that,
Basically, Jairam just spent the entire movie conspiring against Kamal. So everything he tried to do to get him out, just didn't get him out at all.
Yeah.
Just made him stay there longer.
For the next movie, it's going to be a more recent movie compared to the other two, and it was Velathapada, the Valibat Sangam. I think it's one of the funniest Sivakarthikeyan movies. So it's him, Suri, Shrintavya, and Satyaraj.
So this film came out in 2013. The director was Punram.
I think this one is the funniest out of the three movies they did.
But I always felt that this film, the script, felt so realistic. The way that Sivakarthikeyan and Suri talked, it felt like they didn't even follow the script and they just kind of let's just talk like this.
It was village based, so obviously they didn't have anything crazy happen.
I mean, the entire movie, there was nothing that crazy happened. It was just funny the entire time. Any scenes that I loved, there's too many. There's honestly too many. One of the first scene where the police try to take off their banner and Suri starts going crazy. I love that scene. He's like that the entire movie. So I can't even. Yeah, that one was I remember that was it's the first 10-20 minutes of the movie you see them do this and it's just oh, okay, this is gonna be the entire film. I've watched it too many times and I know the jokes by heart now and I'm still no, it's so funny. And the problems they had with Satyaraj, that was hilarious too.
He did have a serious role. They kind of made it fun, a funny, serious role.
Yeah, you didn't take him that seriously, but you knew he's a serious person.
Yeah.
And then by the end of it, you're just what?
The next movie is Bhaskaran. So this one is with Arya and Santanam, Nayantara, and the director was
M. Rajesh. He wrote the dialogues for Velathapada, the Valibar Sangam.
Yeah.
He also did Alan Alagaraja, which was hilarious. The first half was so funny. And then the second half, I was just okay. You could watch it, but you're just not it didn't keep up to the first part. Yeah, the movie came out in 2010. Again, kind of old, 10 years ago.
There wasn't like a big villain or anything in this movie. It's just them living life. And
Yeah. I watched the movie a couple of times, but it wasn't as much as like the other one was.
yeah, I remember the first time I watched it, I was like, oh, this is hilarious.
Very funny moments.
You know, when he gets angry and then Arya decides to leave the house with his stuff, and then it's raining outside, so his brother like runs after him, and then you think he's gonna tell him to come back home, but nah, he just gives him the umbrella.
Yeah, that was funny. But that was like the turning point of the movie, and they still pulled off a joke there.
So the next movie is BBS. It's a Kamal movie. So clearly we are a big Kamal fan. Yes, Kamal, Prabhu, Sneha, Prakash Raj, and it's directed by Saran. It's a what would happen if someone who isn't
Educated.
educated and they want to study medicine or like become a doctor. That's what the story's about. And the way they do it is super funny. And it isn't one of those movies that make you think or anything. It's just like you'll laugh.
Okay, so this movie, dialogues are also written by Crazy Mohan in this movie, but he actually showed up in this film. I thought Prakash Raj did a really good job in this movie. Everyone was funny, but I felt like he pulled it off really well. He was trying to be like serious, but he was actually just a funny guy.
So following on, the next movie is a Vijay Sethupathi movie called Sudha Kavam. And it came out in 2013 and it's directed by Nalan Kumarasamy. And other actors in it include Bobby Simha, Ashok Selvan, Karunakaran, and the music is by Santosh Narayanan. The movie is about a robber, basically, but a robber, he isn't amazing at what he does, but yeah. And then he teaches these guys how to become robbers, and they do it in a funny way.
They're just all silly, like all of them. I did not know this movie was released the same year as Bhaskaran because I didn't watch it that year. What is your favorite scene from this movie?
Like, the cool part is whenever the BGM goes on, you're just like, this is cool.
Was it cool because of the BGM or was it cool because of the scene? Because I think it's just the BGM that did all the work.
Yeah. Okay, another time is when this guy asks him for time. This guy says changing that. Yeah.
One of my favorite scenes was like when they took the kid and like the kid didn't even notice. He just like playing video games or like eating.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh, they're like, call your dad crying. And he's like, what? I'm not doing that.
You know, when they first found out that he could, that was this girl and only he could see her, and they were just like, whoa, how is this even possible?
Yeah. Okay, so next movie is
another we just said it for the movie that we urge you to watch too is Idakadani Ase Pattai Balakumara. The movie came out in 2013. So it's another movie in 2013 with Vijay Sethupathi, Ashwin, Swati Reddy, Nandita, and Pasupati. It's directed by someone called Goku.
it's basically like people that are like interconnected and like you don't see it until like later in the movie.
It starts off with like separate stories and then they connect. Any scenes that you liked in particular?
Well, I like the whole Vijay Sethupathi and Pasupati scene.
Oh yeah, me too.
All that was just incredible, but that was like so like right in the beginning, and it didn't. They should have continued it longer.
Yeah, and Robo Shankar did it. I mean, he didn't do much. Yeah. Like too much, but what he did, he made it funny.
Yeah. And like they did that weird edit when like he tries to call Vijay Sethupathi and they do like
oh yeah,
he makes like weird sounds. And I was like, what? That's when I actually like. I think that was my first time watching Robo Shankar on something.
It was a really good, entertaining movie.
Mm-hmm.
The next movie which we are going to talk about is Tamil Padam, and it's got
Paravamunyam. So I think this entire movie is just like parodies of how movies and
it's literally a parody film.
Any favorite scenes?
But some of the scenes I just like the spoofs are just like the stuff they say or do is like so dumb that it becomes funny as well.
But I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, so we're gonna talk about Chennai 6000280. I think it's a postcode or something for a place in Chennai, but it's a cricket movie. But you don't need to know cricket to understand the movie. It's not like they do anything crazy. It's just a group of boys who like to play cricket. It's a Venkat Prabhu movie. It was a nice movie to watch.
It was a simple movie. It
Yeah.
wasn't like a crazy storyline or anything. It was
Yeah.
basically just like guys who like to play sports are having like basically rivalry because the other team thinks they're better.
Yeah. And the music was good too. And
Mm-hmm. The cast was huge. No, but
yeah.
like none of them actually were like huge actors or anything. But
Yeah.
I think that was the best part of it. They made it so realistic that you were just kind of like, oh, yeah, these guys are probably just playing cricket every day. It was believable.
I feel like this movie, I just found it. It had funny parts, and
Yeah.
yeah, the comedy was good, but I think I liked the first one more. Well, the first one was just like, it felt simple and natural, I guess.
So there are also some funny movies that we would like to mention. So one of them was Sadi Leelavati. It's a Crazy Mohan and Kamal film. It's very old, 1995. If you ever have time to watch it, definitely watch that. And then there's MC Edison, Evdi Munampu Casey. I think everyone watched this movie.
Yeah, as a kid, yeah.
Yeah. I think it was a different type of comedy. It wasn't like Crazy Mohan and Kamal, but it wasn't even like Vadivel comedy. It was just like something else. But it was good.
Yeah.
And then there's Michael Madana Kamarajan, which is the Crazy Mohan and Kamal film. Came out in 1990. Huge cast. This was before Dasavadaram, so he played 4 roles in this movie. It's also very good. And the next one is Kadala Kadala. Crazy Mohan Kamal Combo, 1998 film. This one had Prabhudeva in it. It had some really good songs. And then, yeah, that's it. So basically, all the other movies that I listed were just Crazy Mohan and Kamal Hassan like combos. They worked really well, and it was when they did comedy films, it became like classics. So these are just some other classics that you might want to watch. Oh, and they did Avish and Magi too.
Oh, okay, yeah, that was hilarious.
Yeah, when you're a kid, you just were like, whoa.
For the next week's podcast, we are doing a series on a certain person in the film industry. And for next week, it will be Yuvan Shankar Raja. And we'll talk about his albums and how he became who he is now.
That's great.
Remember to tweet us and a podcast every Monday.